What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. You're jumping on board with Striker again today here at Strike Team Games, and we are going to talk a little bit further on our discussions from the previous episode. Originally, we were talking about my gaming thesis, and it kind of led down a path of discussions about Layer 1 technology, pretty much about how Web3 itself is growing and how it will support video games to be able to be onboarded in the near future. We talked about scalability. We talked about things like smart contracts. We talked about layer ones, and I gave you my ideas on how I see that growth happening with the Web3 economy heading towards gaming. Right now, I want to go ahead and stay on topic, but focus it in the other direction. Let's focus on the perspective of the actual video game industry and everything that revolves around it, and how it will come on board with Web3. So when I start thinking about the video game industry, I see an industry that's already grown, obviously, 3-point-something billion gamers, extremely large, extremely diverse, played all around the world. Doesn't matter if you're on console, if you're on PC, if you're on mobile. We're touching pretty much every aspect of daily life now. Okay, the younger you are, that it means one thing. But now also the older that you get, the very first generations of gamers, it means something to you as well. Different perspectives on the same industry. One of the trends that I keep seeing over and over and over, and when you look at the numbers, guys, it's not really hard to understand. The chances of you publishing, creating, developing, and launching a successful game, a successful AAA game, large game, is extremely, extremely low, okay? The ones that are the most successful on it are the ones that literally take the most shots on goal. They are the biggest players with some of the best talent that have been creating video games for a decade's worth of years, and they're all producing their content. Nintendo, EA, Square Enix, Ubisoft, and those are just some of the big players. We're not even talking about Microsoft or PlayStation, that are the publishers that also have a role to play. But when I think about actual game development, at least on the larger end, I don't see it stopping completely whatsoever. But there's two trends that continue to push itself forward, especially over the past 2 to 3 years. The first one kind of has died out a little bit. But about 2-3 years ago, there were big discussions about games as a service, this gas model, this live service model, where the idea originally was that you want to be able to financially manage a team to be able to create these games for you. In the past, what used to happen is you spun up a development team. That team would work for X amount of years to complete the project. You would have one small team that would focus on DLC, and then everyone would be fired until you start up your next sequel that could be a year, 2 years down the road later when you get funding. So like the cycle of game development, especially on the employment side, was very difficult. With live service, the idea was like, look, your employees are constantly working for you, constantly making content. You're able to provide that content and that value exchange to players and allow the players to enjoy that with the idea of building forever games. For one reason or another, the games that were trying it, at least a majority of the games that were trying it, didn't succeed. There are a few that have still stuck around. And we really start to talk about this topic of like the forever game. What does it mean to have a game that will be played out throughout generations, whether it's Counter-Strike or EVE Online or, maybe when we talk about on the brand side of it, maybe a Mario or a Zelda, even though it's not a very specific game, but the brand of Zelda continues forward, being as huge as it is. Most of them are multiplayer games. Not all of them are, right? So that was one trend that popped up. And the second trend that's a little bit more visible today is this idea about user-generated content. And the big ones that are pushing on this are Roblox and Fortnite, and Epic, I should say. They're wanting to bank on the model that we're going to be taking the creator economy that's already grown on places like YouTube and Twitch and TikTok, and they're going to want to take it to the next level. Rather than you being a third party actor in this video game industry, where the value that you create is outside of a game world. They're wanting to give the opportunity for the entrepreneurial aspects of business development to be able to be focused inside these games. And there's a lot of small businesses that are already spinning up with the idea of just creating maps inside Roblox and Fortnite. With, again, wanting to push forward this model. I actually do think the model itself has an extreme amount of potential, probably more than live service, the original idea of live service games did. And the reason why is because I do believe that this creator economy is going to continue to flourish. COVID hitting in 2020 completely changed work as we know it. A majority of it shifted online. It was already happening and going down that path, and it just accelerated to the point where there's quite a few businesses that just aren't looking back. And like, for example, I'm one of them. I had a CPA firm 2020 handling tax returns. People were coming in the door all the time, had to go completely digital, stuck with completely digital, and we're still there today, right? Helping providing consulting services or whatnot, just literally online. And video games have always been that way, or at least the online aspects. Since the internet really was created, we've been playing around with these ideas. So I see these trends. This is the traditional video game industry right now, what they're pushing forward, what the leaders are trying to achieve. I see this happening, and I'm trying to say, okay, let's look at it from this perspective coming into Web3. And if we're focusing on the content creation, the creator economy aspects of it, that's perfect for Web3. We already are seeing that play out in Web3. We're having discussions with things like the Bored Apes or any of the other major NFT platforms that are allowing that are allowing their licensing to be able to be used, where you literally, not only do you own the license, you actually own the NFT, you own the license to the rights that come with that property, with that intellectual property, for you to be able to build off of and create as you see fit. So I see this possible. I see this completely possible, to the point where I start to think, what is my real gaming thesis for the growth? Where are we heading? What are we accomplishing? It plays along the little bit of the ideas of the metaverse, but really what I see right now is I see a video game economy, a forever game. Maybe it's a previous one that adopts itself into new technology. Maybe it's a brand new IP, who knows? But there will be a large MMO, let's say for now, maybe it's an MMO that's providing that has so much participation by players and developers, not only playing the game, but also creating for the game, putting value into the ecosystem for others to be able to benefit from. Like, it can play out 100 different ways. But I really do think that there will be a game that will be that big, that will have enough economic impacts on players' lives, that it will be generating as much GDP as a small nation in the physical world. I really believe that is probably going to be the path we're heading down yet. Maybe it's not necessarily the big metaverse vision that everyone was seeing before, but I do think there's a chance that we could have a huge MMO have that big of an impact. And it's not going to be happening anytime soon, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, completely possible, I think. So let's go down that road. Let's say that's the path that we're heading, at least for right now. We have a game that's going to come out that's going to allow players to put in their entrepreneurial skills along with other developers to create more content for the ecosystem, to drive value to the ecosystem, and then let people be able to earn in it, play in it, invest in it, grow from it, everything in general. You throw in DeFi in there, I think you get a little picture of what I'm trying to describe. Okay. These are the big players in traditional games coming into Web3. Okay. If we're going to stick with the creator economy idea, then one of the other things I just keep seeing everywhere is the idea of, let's stick to the concept of esports for right now, esports organizations. These organizations, again, video game, third-party businesses that are not the IP holders of any particular game, that are participants of that ecosystem, that are driving value to that ecosystem, but are not being rewarded enough to stay afloat. Right now, I don't care what major gaming organization you are, if you don't have a game that you're profiting from, your chances of survival are very low, okay? Let's look, for example, let's look at 100 Thieves, Optic, FaZe Clan. All of these have been having layoffs in the recent months, have been open about, how the finances just aren't there. They've been having these different discussions about how difficult it is to continue running this type of business in the video game industry. They are trying their very best to stay alive. They're trying to branch out down different avenues. 100 Thieves, for example, they have their competition side, their esports teams. They're creating merchandise. They are hiring content creators that are not just focused on gaming, and they're creating beverage products like I forget the name of it. Juvie, I forgot the name of it. You know what I'm talking about. So they're branching out. They're trying their best to be able to place enough bets in different areas of gaming so that if one succeeds and other fails, that one may be the thing that holds them up. Same thing with Optic, same thing with FaZe Clan. All of them are trying different models to be able to keep their businesses afloat. Okay. So what really intrigues me is that here's another potential avenue for them to be able to earn and continue their business going forward in the video game industry when it comes to Web3. I think of things like you look at some of the biggest streamers, you see Dr. Disrespect, you see Shroud, and you see Nadeshot, and all of them are creating their own games. They are saying to the world that if they want to stay alive in the gaming industry, you have to have a game, because there's so much power and so much, the flow of funds, the way that you're able to monetize this industry right now. That's one of the only ones that is profitable, and even then, you have to take a huge risk to be able to make it successful. So all of them are taking their own shots on goal. They're trying their best to go down this route. So like Dr. Disrespect, and one of the reasons why I'm a Dead Drop founder. Note there, I obviously hold an NFT with Dead Drop as I talk about it, but one of the things that intrigues me the most is that I look at like the LA founder event, I look at the New York founder event, and I look at Arlington that just recently happened, and they're teaming up with different esports organizations. Optic was the one that hosted the event in Arlington. I believe FaZe Clan was the one that hosted the one in LA. They're partnering with esports organizations at the same time that these organizations are looking for additional models to be able to create revenue off of. So do I think, I think that Web3, this content creation type of digital asset ownership, freedom to transact on the blockchain, provides these gaming organizations, and not just them, players in general, us content creators. If you're just a small indie developer, maybe you make clothing or accessories based on your favorite game. Maybe you're an artist and you do drawings of Pokemon. It gives you shots to be able to monetize, your passion. I see that as a positive. I know you can make the argument that it's not. And we definitely should go into that at a later time. But for right now, I want to stick on this idea, and one of the reasons why I've been enjoying Dead Drop so much and I'm so excited for its future is because like these things, these models that I have in the back of my mind are all playing out, and Dead Drop is a small aspect of it where it has a little piece of every pie, right? That is, potentially set up for success. Who knows? We'll have to see. But there's plenty of other games. We could be talking about Shrapnel. We could be talking about, any other game that's being put on a major layer one right now. Whether it's EVM compatible or not. It doesn't matter if it's on Solana, on Ethereum, on Avalanche. It doesn't matter where it is. If this next cycle, the ideas here start to become a little bit more clear with these gaming projects, and we have one of them succeed, or at least bring in maybe not massive adoption, let's just say adoption in general. These chains are going to benefit from it. And they may create the new headquarters for gaming on Web3. Maybe it is Polygon. My personal ideas are that it's something like Polygon teaming up with Immutable. Maybe that's right, maybe that's not. Maybe it's going to be a Solana. where not necessarily EVM compatible, building their own thing, but comes with a lot of scalability benefits. Who really knows? But this general thought of like, there will be a game that drives this much activity as much as a small nation. That activity will only be able to happen if a user base is free to be able to create, add value, transact value inside this ecosystem, and obviously receive value from it. If it is possible, well, that's the question. Is it possible for Web3 and video games to be able to allow players, content creators, anybody who's not an IP holder to be able to make a living off of a game? And it could be play to earn. I don't know if that necessarily is it. I personally think it's going to be something more related to the content creation side of it, the mini celebrity that comes with a fandom. I think that's probably going to be more likely than not. I don't think play to earn is gone whatsoever. I do think that will have major aspects in the future of Web3 gaming. But these are just generally some of my thoughts on where I think we're heading. This is the rubric that I use whenever I'm looking at a new game or trying to like make sense of whether or not, like, if I'm going to buy another NFT in a game, does it make sense based on this logic? And I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong. What I'm trying to say is, like, this is my thesis. This is my framework for how I see the evolution of this entire thing playing out. As new information comes up, doesn't matter if a new chain launches or there's a hack or some big celebrity comes out against crypto gaming, who knows? It doesn't matter, in my opinion. I believe that the tech is there to be able to help these things become reality. Whether or not that they do, that's a completely different topic. But as this other information comes out, I'm going to be changing my thesis too, as rightfully you should as well. So obviously keep an eye on this space. Make sure to always do your own homework. Obviously not financial advice, legal advice, or tax advice. So there's that. But I hope you all enjoyed it, giving you my thoughts on Web3 gaming and where we're all heading. And, take it as you will and go ahead and expand upon it. Share your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. As always, make sure to hit the like and the subscribe button. And I'm your boy Striker, giving you all the Web3 feedback that I can and research based on what I've seen. I don't know it all, but I'm keeping my eyes on this space, as should you. Catch y'all next time. Peace out.